What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Raps Report, a podcast where I talk about the Raptors and the NBA. As you can see, I got a very special guest, my good buddy Mike Roach. He is the host of the Mike Roach podcast, and he is the Raptors broadcast associate. He's been following the team just like we all have, and today I thought I would bring Mike on, and we're going to talk about the first 17 games of the Raptors season. We're going to evaluate the first 17 games of the Raptors season and get into some of our thoughts. Before we get into today's show, I do want to say rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of his passing. He and Gigi, of course, they will continue to remain in our prayers. So this show is dedicated to the legacy and memory of Kobe Bryant. And I do also want to say at the top here, I want to give a shout out to Nathan Crone, who just joined as a channel member, All-Star channel member. Thank you so much, Nathan, for your support of the channel. If you guys want to join, you can hit the join button. All support is greatly appreciated. All right, Mike, how you doing, man? It's been a while.
Hey, listen, I'm good, Luca. Thank you so much for having me on your show, man. I really appreciate that. And like you said, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and to the other members that were on that helicopter. And honestly, Luca, I can't believe it's actually been a year already.
Crazy, right?
Unbelievable.
Mike, this Raptors season, I mean, it's been so up and down. 1 minute the Raptors look like they figured it out. The next minute they look like a shell of themselves. I just want to get your raw reaction to the first 17 games of the season.
Oh, you know what? It's not, I wouldn't say it's 100% surprising to me. I do think they would have been doing a little bit better than what they're currently at right now, sitting at 7-10. But overall, I would say if you are a Raptors fan, you're definitely a little disappointed. I mean, you thought they would be a little bit higher in the standings. I mean, I know it's early, but, looking from the outside of a playoff spot, looking through that 1-8, you're probably a little disappointed with what you're seeing. I mean, depending on the games that you watch, I mean, like you and I, we watch all the games, and it's like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing sometimes from one game to the other. One game they're making shots, they look crisp, good passes, you're getting blocks, you're getting good screens, they're going hard to the paint. And then in other games, it's like guys are tired, they don't even look like they want to run, like they want to move. Shots are off. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still early on in the season, and there's a lot of evaluating yet to do. But there has to be a level of consistency when it comes to the Raptors. And as of now, we just haven't seen that consistency yet. I mean, we're looking at guys like Norman Powell. We're looking at guys like OG Anunoby. And one of the big problems that you and I speak about, because I listen to a lot of your stuff, is that the consistency, and it's not the first year we've been talking about this. Like, we've been talking about this forever now. In order for the Raptors, especially when you get rid of Gasol, you get rid of Ibaka, not get rid of him, but you didn't resign him. But when those guys aren't there, the production has to come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to come out of thin air.
Yeah.
Somebody has to step up. Somebody has to be consistent. And you're looking at two guys who are capable in OG Anunoby and Norman Powell with the skill set that they have. It's not like they're rookies or in their second year anymore. They're now experienced players with championship experience. It's not like they were playing 2 or 3 minutes a game. These guys are playing like 20 plus minutes a game for years now.
Yeah.
So there's eventually you're going to have to stop giving them a pass. They've never played this many minutes before, so you have to give them a little bit of leeway. But at some point, they're going to have to say, like, yo, when are you going to start giving us consistency?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah.
I'm looking at OG scored 30 points one game. The next game he has 10. He has 25 the next game. The next game he has 6.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be some level of consistency. He has been better, though. He has been better. Like, his jump shot is looking smooth. He could shoot the ball. He's understanding, learning how to use his size. He's getting to the basket. Defensively, he looks great. That's never been an issue. Defensively, he looks great. But the consistency on the offensive side has always been the issue with OG Anunoby. Norman Powell is a guy who has to be consistent. We need Norman Powell. With the ability that he has, we need him. We know Pascal. Pascal needs to be consistent too. He's struggled a little bit thus far this season, but it's early. It's early. I'll give them a pass right now.
The thing is, like, is it too early? Because I feel like we keep saying that. I mean, you look at it, Mike, it's a shortened season. We're 17 games in. I remember tweeting about this that I needed to see 15 to 20 games of this Raptors team to give you a proper evaluation of how I think this team's going to be. And I'll give you my raw take. You know, what I've seen so far, I agree with the points you've made. Inconsistency has been the theme of this Raptors season, and you look at the grand scheme of things, you know, where they stack up in the East. Okay, right now they're on the outside looking in. Do I think the Raptors can make the playoffs? Absolutely. But are they going to be a 4th or 5th place team as I thought they were going to be before the season started? I don't know now. Like, I think right now, if I were to give you a best case scenario for this Raptors team, I think, you know, they can fall anywhere from 6th to 8th, but is this team good enough to win a first round playoff matchup? I'm not too sure. So based on what we've seen so far, we have seen some great positives, but there are a lot of things this team needs to work on. And I mean, nobody thought we would be hurting this much after not bringing back an Ibaka and a Marc Gasol. But right now, you look at some of the glaring issues of this team, their identity, their lack of a center, and, you know, certain guys need to step up on a more consistent basis. I mean, let's look at, you know, some of the things this team needs to work on now, Mike. I think we can both agree here. You start at the top, and you got to talk about the glaring need for, you know, an actual center. And you've actually stated before that you would start Chris Boucher because when you have Baines out there, now granted, he's been playing a lot better, but he is a huge liability offensively. And we've seen when he's out there, the Raptors offense usually sputters during that time.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not really sure Nick Nurse can do that anymore at this point because he needs that productivity from Chris Boucher off the bench. Like, there are times where Baines has looked better the last few games on both ends. He's not a guy you want out there shooting a ton of threes, but if he gets an open look, sure, take it. He can make it here and there. If he gets a good look around the basket, yeah, he can make it. Defensively, I think he's done a decent job. He's been looking better the last few games. But, I mean, overall, he's not going to have the upside, obviously, that Chris Boucher has. Like, when we talk about Aaron Baines, we have to remember, it's not like this guy's been in the league for like 2 years. Aaron Baines has been around for a little while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not the youngest guy in the world. He's not going to be able to, you know, put on defensive and offensive shows like he was able to at one point in his career. I mean, I'm not saying he's all-star caliber, but he's still a pretty decent, solid piece. But when you look at the skill set of a guy like Chris Boucher, can shoot it from the outside, good blocking shots defensively, a good help defender. The dude is just long. Like, he puts his arms up. He's the size of the CN Tower. Okay, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Can run the floor. But like you mentioned, we still do have some issues, and it is glaring. I mean, I'll say that.
A big talking point on Raptors Twitter, and I want to get your take on this whole situation, is Matt Thomas. Now, Nick Nurse has come out and said that he hasn't been playing Matt Thomas because he hasn't been necessarily impressed with his defense. But, Mike, I think we can both agree when your offense is sputtering and you desperately need, you know, an offensive lift, and then you see what Matt Thomas did in the 2 minutes that he played in the game against the Pacers where he hit a three, and then, you know, he gets the and one to complete the 4-point play, and then you put him right back on the bench, and then what happened? Fourth quarter comes, your offense sputters. Like, what's going on with Matt Thomas? We thought he was going to have a more consistent role with this team, but it's like Nick Nurse just refuses to play him in any major minutes.
Well, listen, before the last, 1 or 2 games, I haven't seen Matt Thomas since 1983. I just hadn't seen him. But what I don't understand is he's not that terrible defensively. Like, I know people say he's awful. I mean, some people, you know, hit me up on the side. They're like, what are you talking about? Matt Thomas is a pylon. What are you saying? He's not that terrible defensively. Like, I've watched the guy. He's at some point he does stay in front of his man. He's more physical than he looks, and he can just flat out shoot the damn ball.
Yeah.
Like, period. Period. The guy can just flat out shoot and stretch that floor for you. He came into the game for 8 seconds yesterday and was at the free throw line with an and one from 3. You know what I mean? So I think there's something more that's going on with Matt Thomas than just he doesn't play defense. I'm not buying that. I think something else is going on. What it is, I have no idea. I do think Matt Thomas should be playing a little bit more. How much of a difference he's going to make in terms of wins and losses, I don't really know. I'm not saying if you play Matt Thomas, the Raptors are going to just start magically winning. But he does give you a better chance at times scoring the basketball because for the most part, the Raptors' issues have not just been actively. They can't score at times. They go on scoring droughts. That's the biggest issue I see when it comes to scoring the ball. It's a lot of turnovers and things of that nature. But should Matt Thomas be playing a little bit more? Yes, from what I see. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not buying that it's just he's not playing defense. I think there's something more there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Let's talk about Siakam. He's had an interesting season. I mean, the first couple of games, everybody's calling for his head. Let's trade him. All the slander on Twitter that you saw, talking bad about the guy. And listen, I was one of those people saying if you could get James Harden and you have to include Siakam, do it. But he's actually put together a couple of good games, since he went through his struggles. Obviously, he's missed some time now. There's a place for Pascal Siakam on this team, absolutely. But then that raises the question, I mean, you pay him number one guy money. Should we expect more from Siakam based on what we've seen?
Siakam. I think he's a really good player. I wouldn't say he's a great player yet. I think Siakam's really good. I think he's a borderline all-star. If we're doing the 5-star system, I say he's about 3.5 to 4 stars. Not necessarily an all-star, but he's definitely all-star caliber. It's all about, to me, his offensive ability. Like, he's a decent defensive player, but I find he's undisciplined a lot, which is why he racks up a lot of fouls by the time he's at the end of the third or beginning of the fourth. He needs to be a little bit more disciplined on the defensive end, but offensively is what is glaring to us, right? Like, his offensive arsenal needs to expand a little bit. People know you're going to do the spin move, Siakam. I hate to break it to y'all, but he's going to do the spin move.
The Beyblade move.
Yeah. And we all know that. But you know what? He's a guy who he's hungry. I think he's still hungry, right? Like, he can shoot it from the outside. I think he's shooting. One thing that was an issue for me is that he was shooting it from the outside a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you have the open look, then by all means, take the shot. And he can make it. But his bread and butter needs to be a little more at that mid-range, attacking the basket, trying to get to the free throw line. I think he'll rack up a lot more points doing that, and it's easier for him than, sitting at the three-point line shooting threes all game. Like, there's some games he's going 0 for 5, he's going 0 for 6, and he doesn't need to shoot that many three-point shots. Like, if you look at the way even a guy who was playing with him in Kawhi Leonard when he was here, sometimes you don't even realize what Kawhi Leonard is doing, and then you look in the box score and you're saying 28. Well, where'd he get this from?
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh yeah, he's shooting like 12 mid-range shots a game, and he's making like 8 of them. You know what I mean? It's just easy, basic basketball. Not everything has to be complicated. You know what I mean? You don't have to be the style of the Houston Rockets where you're either dunking or getting layups or shooting 3-point shots. It doesn't always have to be that. If you have that skill set or that personnel for your roster or for your team, then sure. But it doesn't always have to be that way, right? And the skill set that Pascal Siakam has, he could be a really, really good mid-range shooter.
Yeah.
That can be his bread and butter right there. I don't know why they're not taking more advantage of that. I understand that they want to have the floor stretched out and have, the lanes more available for guys to get in there, whether it's a OG, a Kyle, a Fred VanVleet or whatnot. But Pascal Siakam needs to improve that offensive arsenal a little bit. You can send him the ball from the corner or from free throw line extended, get it to him at 18 feet, play with his back to the basket. If not, he can face up, you know what I mean? Go one-on-one, try and get to the basket, jab right, go left, pump fake, 2-dribble, step back. He can take advantage of that mid-range area.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think what we expected to as fans, Mike, is that we would have seen a bit more of a closer from Siakam. But, I mean, he had two perfectly good opportunities in back-to-back games and just couldn't finish. He had two good looks. But, going back to what is the biggest glaring need on this team through 17 games, it's not having a closer. It's not having that guy. Because you look at a lot of these games, Mike, the Raptors could have easily won a bunch of them. But what happened? We blew leads, and we didn't have that guy out there who could get you a bucket when the other team was coming back, or a guy out there who could just single-handedly take over a game and close a game like we saw with a Kawhi Leonard. So I think that is, one of the biggest needs on this team. And we've seen it where, the Raptors have a big lead, the other team's coming back, or it's late in the game, tie game with a couple minutes left. Where does the ball go? Like, who is that guy to step up in the big moment? We don't have that guy right now. I mean, like,
who would you give it to?
And you know what? I had brought this up on my live stream. Like, who would you give it to? Like, okay, we've seen Siakam twice now in that situation. It didn't work out. I would probably say Kyle Lowry, just because he's not necessarily a closer, but he does have a lot of years under his belt. He's got a lot of great experience, so I trust him to make the right play with the game on the line. Or another guy is probably Fred VanVleet. But here's the problem with Fred. He can't create his own shot. So if the defense, plays him up tight, he's going to just have to force a long-range shot. That's not going to be what you're looking for, especially from your go-to guy. You want a guy who can create off the dribble and do one of two things: pull up or get to the basket. So I'd probably go with Kyle Lowry. I mean, we wanted to go to Siakam, but we saw on so many occasions he's so predictable with what he's going to do that the defense is going to play him every single time.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm sure they're going to continue to go to Siakam because they want him to be that guy. But I'm just not sure. It's going to take him time if he wants to become that guy. We got to remember something too. And this is what I was saying about Siakam when we were in the bubble. People were saying, oh, look at this guy in the bubble. This guy's playing like a bum, for a lack of a better word, is what people are saying. I think that's a ridiculous word to use, especially when we're the guys watching these guys on TV.
And these guys are making millions of millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. People need to understand that it's a different situation that we're seeing with Pascal Siakam from when Kawhi Leonard was here and him being gone. Because everybody was basing him off of what they saw when Kawhi Leonard was here. That makes absolutely no sense if you know anything about basketball. When the defense is primarily focused on your best player, which was Kawhi Leonard at the time, obviously Siakam is going to have opportunities to do certain things when the defense is primarily focused on somebody else. When he's the primary guy now and the defense is focused on you, then things change.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Then things change, right? So obviously things are going to be different. So when he's in the bubble and we're looking for guys like Siakam to put the ball in the basket when there's 4 and 5 minutes left, and guess what? Now you're staring at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, and they're all focused around you. Yeah, things are going to be a bit tougher. Of course, they're going to be tougher when you've never been in that predicament before. You've never been in that scenario. You're not going to know exactly what to do. Like, you think, okay, well, he should do this and he should do that. Well, it's easier said than done when we're the guys at home watching it on TV. Yeah. When you're Pascal Siakam, you haven't been in that situation before. So it takes time to learn to kind of figure things out and how you're going to do something, right? So, I mean, it's the same kind of thing we're looking at this season when we look. Has he learned anything? Is anything going to be different? That's what we're still trying to figure out right now. We don't know yet. And that's what we're trying to figure
And
out.
that's why I think this season is going to be very, very important for the development of Siakam, because this is going to be, another full season of him being the guy. Can he make the proper adjustments now that he knows that the other team's best defender is, going to be on him, and other teams are now scheming to go against him? So that's what I look for Siakam the rest of the way. Can he make the adjustments? Can he take what the defense, gives him, and can he, be more of that player that, like you said, you don't always have to settle for jump shots. Get to the basket, get to the line. And I think he's been doing a much better job of that compared to the first, let's call it 7 games of the season, where he has been trying to, get his at the line. So hopefully we see a lot more aggressiveness from Pascal Siakam. So Mike, I want to ask you this. So based on, what we've seen 17 games in, can this team still turn it around? And by turn it around, I mean not just get into the playoffs, because I think we can both agree, I would say this team is good enough to get into the playoffs. It's not a question of that.
Absolutely.
But can they turn it around in a sense where they can get, home court advantage for a first-round playoff series, or be a favorite in a first-round playoff matchup?
I'll say this. I think the Raptors will be in the playoffs, but they're going to be on the road to start this thing. I don't think they're going to be a top 4 seed. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I definitely hope I'm wrong. But I just don't see it, because in the off season, I realized 2 things. The Eastern Conference got better, but the Raptors didn't. That's what I realized.
Bang on.
Philadelphia, Boston, Brooklyn, Miami. I mean, listen. Say what you want about the Miami Heat right now. There's 2 guys that ain't in the lineup. Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero. Those guys don't mess around when they're on. All right? Did I say Philadelphia even? I mean,
they look good right now.
The Pacers, I don't know if Karis LeVert's coming back. I just saw that he had successful surgery. If Karis LeVert comes back, Sabonis is healthy, Warren is out the lineup. Is he coming back? Like, they're going to be good too. You understand what I mean? Like, it's not going to be easy for the Raptors this season like it has in the past few years. Do I think they will make the playoffs? Yes, I do. If they're going to get out the first round, that's a massive question at this point.
Yeah.
That's a huge question.
I mean, right now, Mike, it's looking like we might get a 2-7 Nets-Raptors playoff series.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. It's really tough. I do think the Raptors have more in them. This thing with Nick Nurse and the inconsistency of playing time with these players is just weird. It's just flat out weird. Like, to me, I still feel like sometimes when you're watching the Raptors play, it's almost like they're still in preseason.
Yeah.
Like, the substitutions are weird. You don't see Bembry for 3 games, then he comes out of nowhere. Matt Thomas, like we said, he's in the game for like 2 minutes. He comes out of nowhere. Then you don't see Terrence Davis. Then he's scoring 16 points the next game. It's like Aaron Baines, he starts the game. You don't see him again for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
like
there's no identity.
I don't understand what's going on here.
There's no identity.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it. Nick Nurse is still trying to figure things out. I'm sure he's still doing a lot of experimenting, but there's just so many things that are still up in the air when it comes to this team that you don't even know where to begin to make a prediction.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you hit it bang on when you said that everybody else seemed to get better and we didn't. And I think a lot of that played into the fact that Masai was hoping, let's call it for what it is, the entire Raptors organization and its fan base was hoping that Giannis wasn't going to sign that Supermax. Because obviously we knew the narrative, we're playing for next offseason. But as soon as he signed that Supermax, I mean, it was just a gut punch to everybody in Raptorland. Now we got to figure out, okay, how can we get better? Are we going to see a trade later on? Maybe if this team's in contention, maybe we see the Raptors be buyers. or if this thing falls apart, maybe we become a seller. So I think you're right. There's still a lot of uncertainty. There's still a lot of things we need to see before we can get an accurate depiction of this Raptors team. But I think after 17 games in, inconsistency has been at the top of our lists of, what's gone on with this team. So, I mean, yeah, I believe we could still turn it around too. But I think you're going to be more optimistic than I am. But I just look at this team right now and kind of the theme of it. I think we're a 6th to 8th place playoff team when it's playoff time. But hey, don't get me wrong. We can potentially.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We could potentially win a first round playoff matchup. That could be our Super Bowl where we knock off the 3rd seed or better yet, knock off the super team Nets. You never know.
Listen, you never know. Listen, I'll say this right now. I'm not sold on any team in the Eastern Conference right now. None. Not Philly, not Brooklyn. I am not sold on any team right now. To me, there's no gimme pick here who's going to go to the finals in the Eastern Conference. I have no idea who's going.
So you're not sold on the Nets, eh?
I am not sold on the Nets. I think they have 3 really good players, but I'm not sold on them. I got to see more of them, and I just got to play it by ear with those guys and see what happens.
Yeah. There's a lot to be determined. I think we know who's coming out of the West, but in the East, it could be a crapshoot. I mean, a lot of good teams this season, and it's we got to take that in account for the Raptors' poor start and where they stand right now. Mike, thank you so much, man. This was a lot of fun. We definitely got to do this again, guys. Let us know in the comment section down below if you'd like, me and Mike to do these kind of ongoing evaluating the Raptors after a certain period of time.
Anytime. I love your show. Always watch it. Got the notifications on, first of all, whenever you drop a video. Your comment section is popping, though. I mean, you got some good people in there. I'll tell you that right now.
I appreciate that. And yeah, like I said, guys, let us know if you want to see more of this, because this was a lot of fun, man. We could definitely, I'd like to have you back on, at the 35 game point, and then we can see, okay, is this team where we thought they were going to be, or are they now all of a sudden a contender? Who knows with this team, right?
Yep. We, Luka, I mean, something could possibly happen. I think there could be a trade eventually.
Yeah.
Involving the Raptors, and I just don't know. I want to make a comment about Lowry, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not that I want to see him get traded, because I don't. I don't think Lowry's a guy you want to trade just because of how much he's done for your organization. Because I love Lowry. I'm a big Lowry guy. I think he's the best player in the history of the Toronto Raptors in totality. Not from a talent standpoint, but just overall with his leadership, his mentality, his fierceness when he's on the basketball court, just the way he plays and everything that he's everything the organization stands for, right?
Yeah.
And a player and as a person. But I'm starting to wonder, are we going to be able to see the growth of this team while he's still here? Like, to get to the next level, is it just going to have to be Fred there and then Norman and OG? But that's a story for another day. We could talk about that.
We'll save that on the next chapter of Luka and Mike, because, yeah, there's a lot you can say there. To end, I'll just say this. If the Raptors are completely out of this thing and they're towards the bottom of the East and it's, early March, we could see the Raptors be sellers and potentially trade Lowry. I mean, the Sixers could use him right now, even the Clippers. But if the Raptors are right there, I don't think he's going anywhere. And I think a lot of fans would like to see that of, Lowry finishing it off, one last goal with this team. So we'll talk about that more on another show. Mike, thank you so much, brother. Always great to see you, man. Hope you and your family are great and safe during these times. And we'll do this again real soon.
Yeah, man. Same to you. Keep up the good work, Luka.
Take care, man.